Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there. All right, everyone, we're here. We've been threatening it. We're here. It's Comic-Con weekend, and we're talking to some rock stars straight from Comic-Con. Jackson Lanzig and Collin Kelly. Hello, sirs. How are you?
Hey, friends.
Hello. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate y'all waiting on us.
Hey, no problem. No problem. We've been really looking forward to this. So before we get it, exactly. Before we get to your work, how's Comic-Con going?
Really lovely. We've been coming to this show for almost 14 years. We were coming here as fans before we ever showed up as professionals. And getting back is, it's got a weird homecoming feel. You know, it's like you're coming back to your high school reunion and the people are all a little different, but they're still your friends. So are your enemies.
It's been a really awesome way to this has been our first con back since the before times.
And so this
has been a really exciting kind of test case for us because we're never more comfortable than we are at San Diego. This is our home show. We live in Los Angeles, so we just take the train down. And again, we've been doing it since college. This is our lifeblood, this show. So coming back to it and having it be it's San Diego Comic-Con. Like, it's not like it's been scaled down or like it's not the show that you remember. Like, it's the show you remember. Yep. It's as big and exciting and cool and filled with announcements, creators and editors and fans and activations. It's wild. We're really, really glad to be back in it.
So it feels exactly the same then.
Oh, exactly the same, except for the fact
couple masks.
Our schedule is much the masks, obviously. And our schedule is much busier. We went from sort of begging at the door at Marvel and DC 3 years ago to now having books at Marvel and DC. So our experience of the con is just fundamentally different because we have more signings and more panels and more obligations and more meetings. And it's a little bit, it's been like every year it's gotten to be a little bit less of an option for us to like camp out for Hall H, right? And it's just, this year it's just like, that just isn't an option for us at all, which it does make it a different kind of con. Not necessarily for the better or for worse. It's a little different.
Yeah, we're going to get to your Marvel and DC books, and then I saw an announcement. You have something coming from IDW soon, which we're very interested in also.
Yes, we did.
Lil, boss, did you say you wanted to start with Captain America first? Okay, so Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty. We have 2 issues out so far. Charlie, I know you have thoughts. I have thoughts. Charlie, go ahead.
Okay. So first off, I have to give much love to you.
Yes.
Because in the first issue, it's very subtle, but you clearly reference Protocide.
He's going there.
Hey, look, okay.
We do. What?
Let me explain your work to you.
No. Well, no. See, I'm sure they have. Let me actually just say this.
Let me mansplain your work to you.
Protocide for the same reason I love Protocide, because Protocide is effectively a blank slate.
He was on the sexy.
He had 2-3 appearances. He is super awesome in those appearances, but we have so little to go by. I'm going to throw out, and this, I've said this many times, so it's not copyright or anything like that. But I've said for years that, like, my fan theory on him is everyone thinks he's brain damaged, and that's why he doesn't talk. My actual statement is, no, he's not brain damaged. He was just a dumb guy who suddenly became smart. Because he was always strong. So he never noticed when he got stronger. But suddenly, things looked differently to him because suddenly he got peak human intelligence. And gaining peak human intelligence is got to freak you out if you used to be a dumb guy. Like, it's sort of like Steve Rogers doesn't notice because he was always a smart guy.
Right.
He's like, oh, look how big and strong I am.
Right.
And he doesn't even notice how much smarter he got because, oh, no, I always used to be a smart guy. But this was a big dumb guy who suddenly got smart, and he was like, what the heck is going on? I don't have words to describe it, so I'm not going to talk.
I'm just going to say the word prototype.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just going to let you guys talk. I'm going to listen. Yeah. And, and maybe he's the smartest of us all. I don't know. That's my own thing. I love Protocyte. I can't wait to see what you do to build his story, if he's in it at all.
So here, I want to just answer that right away and directly so that we're not leading anybody on. Early on in our conversations about Captain America, like Sentinel of Liberty, when we were first asked to come on and figure out what this book was going to look, we went back and revisited the entire publishing history of our favorite character, Steve Rogers, right? It was just like, this is what you have to do. You got to dig in on this stuff and make sure that it's gonna rock and that it's going to be new. And it's going to take stuff that people love and push it forward in real, legitimate ways because we're not trying to waste anybody's time. We're trying to tell the next great Captain America story. So how do we do that while honoring what's past? And a big thing in our notes was, let's go back and find characters who really feel like they didn't get their due or didn't get their moment in the sun or could be really thought through in an interesting way. And I will tell you, Protocide was at the top of that list. Like, genuinely, I brought Protocide to Collin, and I was like, I'd forgotten all about this character, where Protocide was actually in the books that you were reading as a kid. Like, he was like an early one for you. So we started talking about Protocide early. Protocide inspired a lot of what we're doing without being directly involved in anything we're doing. So I don't want anybody excited for Protocide to show up anytime soon. If he does show up, which I'm not saying he won't, if he does show up, it'll be because of all of the ways that he's inspired what we are doing. But don't expect Protocide to be showing up anytime soon. We're doing different stuff. That said, there's a character that showed up in Captain America Sentinel of Liberty #2 that is kind of an answer to Protocide, and is what brought us to that. So.
Yeah, there's a place for Protocide in the mythology that we are building within Captain America. So it's we are incredibly aware, and there's gonna be elements of it all over the place.
But I like your theory.
I love your theory.
I really like your theory.
Thank you.
A lot more than brain damage Captain America, which I don't really like.
Yeah, I was very happy. I saw like an interview on. I wish I remembered the website, but it said that you guys were like fans of like older runs and stuff. I mean, I worship at the temple that was Mark Grunwald. I love his Cap stuff. Yes. I just think from like, where was it? Roger Stern from around 247 all the way through like Mark Waid, maybe even the Dan Jurgens. That is like the most solid run of Captain America. I mean, I know people love like, like the Kirby stuff and which is great, but yeah, that is like my big, huge, I mean, there's like a big, 15, 20 year block there. I think it's just like solid Captain America. And it seems like you guys are doing like my favorite version of Captain America, like when he's just like straight up superhero. I don't like when he's like an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or like a like a soldier. When you play him like straight up superhero, that's my favorite Captain America.
He's been an agent and a military operator for a very long time. I think 9/11 kind of did that.
Yeah.
And after, because there's that extremely reactive run that comes right after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
That is about like just American catharsis. It was like no matter where your politics were, you had this weird hole in your heart. And Marvel Comics was like, cool, Captain America is going to fill that by punching, let's be honest, brown people, which was awful.
Ooh, yeah. And
like was not a good move. It wasn't a good look, but it was a thing that they were doing because it was where the culture was at a really specific period. Brubaker came in and turned that, and I think did a really lovely job of turning that and being like, okay, it's still a military science fiction. It's military fiction with super heroic elements, and I'm going to dig back into the book. I'm going to bring it forward. The Brubaker run is really core to us. We love that run. That was the run that was happening while we met. So Collin and I would go to the comic book store together, and we would get our comics, and that's how we met. And because we neither of us had a car in college, our buddy David had a car, so we'd all get in his car and introduced us, and then we would go get comics. And we got the Brubaker run, and we loved it so much, and it did such a great job of revitalizing the character. But what it did do was it put him behind a lot of like holographic walls and secret bunkers and dark places where no one could find him, and it made him very lonely as a general rule, up to the point at which they killed him. And so I think looking back, as we stepped onto the character, when we knew that one of the things from the very get-go, because it was Alana Smith who put this together at the very get-go, she came in and she was like, my only thing is I really want him to have normal friends. And we said, yes, please. Yes. Oh my God. And we went back to Grunwald and Wade. And we're like, what can we do? And Stern, and like, what can we do to turn this into a book that reflects what Cap was for so many people for so long, which is not a man in the shadows dealing with the dark impulses of American life, but the best of us standing among us, showing us how we can be better and demonstrating that every day, not just in the costume, but in the way he is.
Oh yeah, I think you guys have really nailed the classic Cap feel. Yeah, he has an apartment, he has friends. The art class is inspired because, I mean, art's been a part of his life for the longest time. I mean, was it DeMatteis had him working for like an ad agency or something? Grunwald had him drawing the Captain America Marvel comic.
I turned my brain inside out, Mark. I loved it.
I know, because I think, did they offer him like Iron Man? He's like, nah, I don't want Iron Man. Can you give me Captain America? I think I have some insight into that. They're like, okay.
Although, to be fair, I can see you still have bad blood with Iron Man. Because when they ask him to thank Tony Stark, he says, I don't think I will.
Yeah.
I
don't think Steve gets over Civil War ever. I really just don't ever.
Oh, they had beef before that. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, of course. But I think it's because it was like at a particular moment, especially for us as readers, where that punch felt like such a gut punch.
Yeah.
Like that one, the punch, right? That felt like such a moment that I think forever for us, it lives in that space between Steve and Tony, that they can trust each other and they can be the
amazing
best
teammates,
friends, great teammates. But I think Hickman had it right. Like, they're going to go down punching each other. Unfortunately, it's maybe one of their only real flaws as people. Certainly, it's one of Steve's only. I'm going to plug in my computer.
Yeah, hog that spotlight. Yes.
So to go into that, so you talking about like Steve as an agent and as, which is a part of this, because obviously issue 2 ends with Agent Carter showing up, which I don't know if that's the one from Exiles. I don't know. That's all a question. I'm not going to ask you to answer that for me.
Good, thank you.
But I am going to say Steve Rogers' Super Soldier, I believe it was called, which was the series where he like doesn't have the suit because Bucky was Cap, and he does this little thing and is the whole recreation of the Super Soldier serum.
Right.
And there is this, the end scene is them finding some other scrawny kid whose mom died. Says, well, we'll make him a superhero because, you know, he's got the exact profile of Captain America. That guy, when we give him the Super Soldier serum, it's not going to screw it up because, quite frankly, you need that person that is this person that we can then make sure they're molded into the right direction.
Yeah.
Was that an influence at all on what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
But not the individual character beat, but I think the underlying aspect of it, that is Steve as functionally individual when it comes to the concept of super soldiers. That super soldiers are prototype. That super soldiers are people who are manufactured with the purpose. We talk about this in issue 1, like directly. Manufactured with the purpose of not just being direct intervention, but being psyops against other people. That when a super soldier enters the field, you get scared and you run away, or you get scared and you freeze up, or whatever. You don't want to fight Captain America. You don't want to fight Protocyte. You don't want to fight U.S. agent, whatever. When a super soldier shows up, you get worried. Hey, there's a beautiful book.
Yes, advertise them, kids.
Carmen. We'll sing her praise in a second. But effectively, Steve is the only only super soldier that you can really look at in the entire Marvel universe who turned out right, like who turned out okay and not like fully functionally traumatic. There have been versions where the Hulk is a super soldier, never works out. There've been versions where Black Widow is a super soldier effectively, it never works out. Bucky is a great case of a super soldier that really specifically did not work out, right? It worked out really, really badly for everyone involved. Steve is Steve underneath it. He's not Captain America. He's Steve. And that man and his upbringing and his best qualities, those are the things that make him functionally worthwhile. It's not his genetics. It's not like, oh, this kid has the same like blood type as Steve Rogers, so we can make him a superhero. It won't go bad. You have to be Steve Rogers, and that's why I think it's not a legacy character generally, and why it takes Sam Wilson, because Sam Wilson is also Sam Wilson. He's not just the Falcon. He's an individual functional character with a very individual functional outlook. And when you put him in the Captain America suit, he really had something to add to it that isn't a super soldier, right? He's like a super activist. It's kind of different. He's a super social worker. Like, it functions really differently. And so that's ideally what creates the wider context of the life.
Okay, with that said, no, it's honestly, it's a fantastic answer. Here's my follow-up. With that said, how do you interpret the Hydra Cap concept within it? In the sense that is Steve Rogers, but in that moment he gets that other Okay, then that's fair, and that is a fair assessment, and I have no further questions.
Yeah, I just think when you change Steve's upbringing, you change Steve. So
well, exactly, and that is really what the point of it is. I think is that Steve Rogers,
damn cosmic cubes,
manipulated by the cosmic cube.
Yeah.
Dang you, Isaac Newton!
Jeez.
History's greatest monster.
But
you really,
you
really screwed the whole Marvel universe.
I get deep on these things, man. I'm sorry.
I love it.
But you mentioned Sam Wilson. Is there any talks of like any crossover with that book in the future? Or?
We cannot confirm nor deny.
Okay. When
that Tochi and us talk a lot. That we're good buds. Yeah. That we talk a lot about Captain America and what exactly we're all doing on Captain America.
Got it.
We all have a real concept of a line that's being built out here for Captain America and the world around him. So that's what I'll say.
The two books are both called Captain America. So
yes,
we will see how it plays out.
All right, I have a question for both of you, so you'll both have your own answers. So you've read every Captain America book. What was your favorite run? I mean, you can mention a few if you can't nail it down to one, but
or just say your favorite issue if there's one that stands out. You don't have to say
Yeah, true. If you get one issue, one run, however you want to do it.
It's Winter Soldier. It's that core story that just really grounds Cap, makes it all really incredibly real and violent and scary and sad. And I think that's really one of the key things that's like great for Captain America is when it's fucking sad. The kids listen to this. Is when it's sad, it's tragic because he hopes for the best of everyone, and he's so often let down. It just really pulls on the heartstrings, and I really love that and how that got brought out in the run.
And I think for me, while that run is deeply iconic and really important to our conception of Steve, I've been recently I think it may be because it's a lot of comparisons are being drawn to it. I've been drawn back to it and then rereading Secret Empire again.
Oh.
And I really have always been such a fan of Steve as an anti-authoritarian character, that what happens when you take Steve and have to put a little punk rock in him, and because he's not an inherently punk rock guy, but we are kind of inherently punk rock guys. Like we're generally pretty anti-authoritarian, raised by like crazy witches guys. So we really like getting a little weirder and more, fight the power. And I think Secret Empire is such a wonderful job because it takes Steve and makes him really look at the world around him differently and how he needs to operate in that world differently, which is a big part of what we're trying to do with Sentinel of Liberty.
So no Cap Wolf. Okay, got it.
To be fair,
I don't like Cap Wolf.
Oh no, yeah, that's.
I will go on record 1,000,000%. I do not like Cap Wolf. I never want to see it again. I swear I will never turn Captain America into a wolf.
Nice.
I just will not do it.
Ooh, he said he swears he'll never do it, which makes me really want to try and make it happen.
Okay. Let me just say
Sounds like me
one
and
moment.
Will.
I have to call back to this. There is nothing more punk rock than punching a Nazi.
Yep.
You get it, bud?
Yep.
Cap.
Absolutely right.
Everyone always treats Captain America like a Boy Scout, and he's not. He's a soldier who is ready to do what needs to happen, and that guy's punk rock. Punching fascists is always punk rock, and that's
exactly.
And truthfully, like Steve, yes, he loves doing that. Like it is a literal thing. It actually brings him. It's a responsibility, but I think he's learned to find joy in that. Like he's learned to find a real peace when he is put up against something that is so inherently wrong that he can punch it. You know, and I think it's something that ideally the reader can take out into their own life and recognize when something is fundamentally wrong and stand up to it, which is something that Steve taught me as a kid, and I know taught Collin as a kid, and I really hope continues to teach generations, especially of American youth, because we have a lot of our culture that is dedicated to a both sides premise of like the moral legitimacy of other people, and I think we're getting to a really dangerous place. I think it's really important that Captain America is there to remind you, like, we are a pluralist democracy. We operate as a whole, and we operate with each other, and we operate out of diversity and inclusion and acceptance and understanding. Like, we're not a brick wall. We are an open arm. And I think it's, the shield as a metaphor for that is something we're actually kind of going at pretty directly in Sentinel. Like, Steve hides behind the shield, right? Like, quite legitimately, and I think it's time for him to examine what that means a little bit.
That's why I'm so happy when I heard you guys were on this, because I mean, you love the older runs. It sounds like Grunwald, that was Grunwald's whole point with Cap. It's like, I'm not an agent of the government. I am an agent of the people. I'm punching supervillains in the face so everyone else can live their American dream.
I think Grunwald is probably the biggest direct influence on him.
Oh, nice.
I think that's pretty clear.
And I do want to say, I'm not going to ask you the question, but I am very excited to find out if the shield is Cap's symbol or if it is theirs, whoever they are.
Issue 3.
Ooh, the next issue.
Man.
Nice.
Fast.
Yes.
Less than a month.
We didn't want to tease you guys.
Thank you.
The point of the story is not to reveal it. The point of the story is to get you into the ramifications of what it means. So
I'm excited to find that out.
I thought we were gonna have to wait till at least 6. Thank you.
We got bigger plans for issue 6.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Nice.
All I gotta say though, man, all them concentric circles makes me think of that Newton again. And
does it?
I'm just saying that Newton. Don't make Isaac.
Have we mentioned recently
him and his calculus?
Search of Jonathan Hickman and deeply love his Shield run, and maybe
a little bit, yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. It was pretty good stuff, and
it was pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the Brotherhood of the Shield is honestly some of the best comics ever written, and I really want to get a resolution to that because I just want all the answers just in a nice, easy to see format in front of me one day. But I know I can never have that because that's the joy and the terror of life.
Yep, and look, we're not going to come in and play in Hickman's playground because I think to do so would be hubris. But what we are going to do is what we have done is really be inspired by the kind of stories that he was willing to tell that made you really rethink and look at the history of the Marvel Universe differently. And what you are going through in Sentinel of Liberty is our attempt to do something in the same vein. So if you like S.H.I.E.L.D., I very much think you'll like where we're going, or at least I hope you will.
Oh, I'm sure we will. All right.
If you don't, you have our email addresses. Let us know.
Oops.
You're gonna have to really mess up and give me not to like it.
If we have issues, we'll call you. You'll come back and you'll convince us that you were right and we were wrong.
Charlie will tell you what you should be doing right. Yes.
Love that.
Well,
All right. All right, she's been sitting there patiently. All right, Lilith, we're up. But let's talk some Batman Beyond Neo here.
So did you pitch the script or did they come to write it back?
Both.
Nice.
Yeah. How did it even get onto a plate?
So it was Urban Legends and Dave.
Right.
Dave Wheelgos, who is an editor at DC Comics, who has been our stalwart champion since the day we started on Batman and Robin Eternal. It's our first superhero book ever. And is really the reason why we're still working at DC. There's a lot of wonderful people at DC, but Dave is the guy who gripped onto our career and kept it there. Dave came to us and said, "Hey guys," and this was after we'd done a few pitches that hadn't gone anywhere at DC, so we kind of thought we were dead in the water there. And he came to us, he called us, and he said, "Hey, I didn't want to do this until I knew that I could give you something, but you don't even need to pitch this. You just do it." We're like, "Great, what?" He was like, "Anything you want on Batman Beyond. Anything. Just go."
Oh, nice.
And that was it. That was all he said. He was just like, "Do Batman Beyond. Do you have an idea? Do a couple of weeks. Give us an idea on Batman Beyond. You have 30 pages in Batman Beyond Urban Legends.
Urban Legends 7.
Legends,
We're going to have 30 pages.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want." And they were like, "Series?" And I was like, "It's Urban Legends, so let's give it a shot." And okay, cool. So leave nothing on the table. Just absolutely go wild as we can, which is why we're like, well, what's the most shocking thing you could do with Batman Beyond? This is we get one swing at this. What's it going to be that's going to get the headlines? You got to kill Bruce Wayne, right? And that was the kind of question that we had. And then we were like, can we do this? And Dave was like, yeah, baby, let's go. And if the fans hate it so much that, it kills the story in the water, that's fine. We still did a 30-page great tale of Batman Beyond and Terry McGinnis. But it turns out there was some hunger for the character, and people actually really got on board with what we were throwing down.
All Batman Beyond fans, that's all we've ever wanted was for Bruce to be dead so Terry can get his shine on. He doesn't. We don't have to worry about Dick. We don't have to worry about Barbara. He can be his own man because he was already his own man with just a little bit of backup. All he needed was the push. He's set to go. So
I completely agree with you.
Same page.
And that was that kind of made it sound like we did it for the headlines. I want to be clear, we didn't. Yeah. The thing that we were really excited about in terms of Terry is that he doesn't. This is going to be a controversial statement probably for Batman Beyond fan, but I don't think that Terry's villains properly reflect Terry. I think Batman's villains reflect Batman, and it's one of the reasons that Batman is so freaking excellent as a concept. Is that he's a man with a real mental illness issue, dealing with people with real mental illness issues, and it's all turned up to 11 in terms of pulp weird content, weird horror pulp detective stories about various states of mental illness and various states of sort of anti-societal aggression, and how you deal with that. Terry's villains are all Spider-Man, though. They're all science projects gone wrong, almost to the one. Terry's not a science project gone wrong. That's just not what he is. Terry is
according to the animated series.
Okay.
It's not gone wrong though. It's gone in the best possible way they could ever hope for. So it's not gone wrong. But he is a science project.
Yeah, I tend to count that little bit of I know. I tend to count that little bit of continuity as optional. I just don't really love it, so I've always just kind of been like, well, it's sure.
Amanda Waller, and that's one of my reasons why I cling to it.
I love Amanda Waller, and I love Machiavelli and Amanda Waller, so I do love that about it. That's the good part about it. I don't love connecting him to Bruce biologically. I think that's kind of wrong. Anyway, the thing that I do think is the thing that we both, as we were talking about it, we're like, Terry deserves a new villain because none of his villains really feel like something that we want to anchor 30 pages. What's a villain that would be properly scaled to Terry McGinnis? What is Terry? Terry is a young person who rises out of tragedy to build a legacy, but the legacy is one that's already been built. He's being trained to take a legacy and knows that someday he's going to have to do it alone and knows that that legacy is going to define him. But his legacy is effectively thrust on him out of the tragedy of losing his father. And so he never really deals with the tragedy of losing his father. He just mostly deals with taking on the legacy. Terry rarely mourns his dad. He mostly mourns a life maybe before Batman, but not even that. He kind of likes being Batman, so it's that's not really him. That's not him either. He's just a man who's trying to live up to Bruce. The worst thing that can happen to Terry is Bruce goes, "I'm disappointed in you, Terry." It's the worst thing that could happen to Terry. And I think at this point we were like, what can you do with Terry that's going to take him to the next step? What's going to challenge him properly? We're like, well, then we need to look at legacy. What are legacies that could turn against Terry? And the biggest legacy that we could see anywhere in the sort of world of Batman Beyond, and we were also really trying to bring in Cyberpunk, was Gotham itself. What does it mean for a mechanized city to become self-aware, to look at itself and to say, well, I don't need your legacy. Your legacy, this Batman thing, it's a bug in my machine. I don't need it. Get it out of here. I'm going to keep the line flat on my own. I'm going to keep this city good on my own. I'm going to make this the most peaceful city in the world. Like, don't even worry about it, but Batman needs to die. And once we figured that out, and we were like, okay, living Gotham. Once living Gotham clicked in, we were like, well, then it needs to kill Bruce on page 1. And now you've got a scale. Now you have a real reason for him to fight that legacy and to do it. And then, frankly, everything we've done on Neo Year has been built on that same premise. Gestalt is looking at a legacy of connectivity, of like how we are all connecting ourselves and what it means when we fully fundamentally connect ourselves and try to like escape out of the world like that. Can we create our own legacy that way? It sort of Gotham is in many ways a reflective of Perry and his relationship with Bruce. Even we have these little cat boys. We call them the cat boys, who are just like punk rock cats who are like hanging out around Gotham all the time. We're like spliced with cats, and we get a look at their headquarters in I think issue 4, and all their stuff just covered in Selina Kyle merch. They just love Selina Kyle. Selina Kyle is alive and well with the cat boys. Everything we do is trying to look at how you attach legacy to people stepping forward into a new future and letting that be a challenge to Terry. So that's where Neo Year really.
Okay, so I'm going to show myself to be a person who's not reading this book, and I apologize. Right. There's a lot of books I have to read, man.
Mr. Marvel.
And I read a lot of them. To be fair. Okay, but what you said, maybe I'm going to show what a fool I am, because, we did that like 4 issues ago. You have a sentient cybernetic city. Is Zeta coming into this?
No, we talked about Zeta. I think Zeta's so fucking cool. Here I am again.
It's fine. It's fine.
I think Zeta's so.
It's fine.
Cool.
No, I mean, I know it's like an obscure sub-reference, but like when I think Batman Beyond, I go, oh yeah, that had a spin-off, and I love a spin-off.
Yeah, right.
One season, yeah.
But no, I mean,
I like Zeta.
I mean, what you just described would be original enough. I love the original take, but it's like, but then you like detonate the Batcave. All the supplies he has left is whatever he could carry in that suit. So he's basically down to. I mean, he was swinging on a rope. So
yeah, we wanted to effectively key into the same energy as like Batman Year One, right? Like we wanted to take a look, strip out everything.
That was the other.
Yeah, look at everything, strip all of the safety net effectively away from him, and try and build him up, because he hasn't effectively been Batman. He's been an up-jumped Robin, right? He's been a sidekick, a fucking kick-ass sidekick. I don't care anymore! He's been an amazing sidekick, but it was time for him to become Batman. And, like, just like all of us, one day your dad dies. One day you have to kind of step up and say, I'm going to stop living in this shadow and I'm going to become my own man. In Terry's case, I think we can see the parallel there. Obviously, he's Batman.
My own bat.
My own bat. Oh.
See what you did there? Yeah. That was nice. But yeah, that is very much the case.
Oh,
I love everything.
Yeah.
I love that Terry's always been kind of the approachable person out of all the battle. He's more reasonable. Like, his parents were reasonable. He had a brother. He had responsibility. He was actually interested in his girlfriend and everybody else. He was just so relatable. And you kind of kept that vibe and let him out of the shadows. And as a Batman, specifically a Terry McGinnis fan, it was very cathartic.
You are very welcome. We love the character too, and like, there's nothing more respectful of a character you love than letting them do a little bit of growing up. And
which always feels like a really dangerous thing to do, because it moves the character into a new mode. Like you mentioned there, Dana and his brother and his family and all those relatable things. And you'll notice that on page 3 or 4 of Urban Legends, we evacuate all of them and never bring them back.
It's okay. No, we all really didn't like Dana. It's okay.
Well, that's kind of a thing. We kind of felt like all the stories that could be told with those characters, especially in the comics, had been told. We'd gone as far as like Dana becoming Batman, right? Like, I mean, they'd done all kinds of wild stuff, and so it felt like at some point it was like, these characters need to step away from Terry because if Terry has this whole giant support system, he doesn't feel as much like Batman, he doesn't feel as much like Bruce, and he needs to, like Bruce, start building his own family. He starts. We're big found family nerds, maybe because we were found family to one another, so it just kind of like happens. But we genuinely felt like we needed to build that into Terry's run so that he could build a supporting cast that was properly designed to be a Batman Beyond supporting cast for the new run. Because when we did the 30-pager, it was just a 30-pager, and then we were like, we hope this is a series because we think this is the beginning of something. And Dave and DC and readers seemed to agree, and so we were able to make Neo Year. And now we're wrapping Neo Year, and we're like, great, cool. I hope this keeps, like, I hope we can do more Batman Beyond, because now we've put the pieces into place to really tell a new era of this character and start pushing Terry into modes that the show could never have done, and just would never have done, because it was not what Terry was going through. So that's an exciting place for us as well. We're just really excited to, like, continue to dig into Neo Gotham as a setting, and to dig into Terry as a person and see what unlayers there if we're lucky enough to do. So thank you for buying the book and boosting it, because you're making our dream come true too.
Okay, before I start manifesting this, I just want to make sure it's okay with you guys. How would you guys feel about doing a new
we would do it. We would do it in a heartbeat. Let me be really clear. We would do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Yeah. We've written animated shows before. We would love to do that. It would be a dream come true.
You heard it, kids. Let's start manifesting.
I mean, X-Men 97, X-Men are coming back. 90s are big now.
Let's go. I would love that.
Although technically.
Yeah, but still.
All sorts of promises out there. We'll see what happens.
But yeah, I mean, the story is excellent just because, yeah, it does kind of like honor what came before, but it is something completely different. Any other time I might be like, oh, where's the old supporting cast? But no. So have we seen a new love interest at this point?
You have seen yes. You've seen a new love interest at this point. I think that's relatively clear after issue 3.
Yeah, what issue just came out?
4.
4, yeah.
So you've met Muma. You kind of understand who she is.
Mm-hmm.
We get that sequence at the night market is still just like, I can't believe we got that into a comic. Like, it was so, from really early on, we were like, I just want them eating burgers in a night market. Like, that's all. It's like such a stupid thing, but it's all I want.
We got a little coffee shop AU in our
yeah, exactly. But that character, it felt like it was really important if you were going to give Terry a new love interest, or certainly a new supporting character who inspired that same kind of like feeling and partnership with him, that character have her own story, that character have her own priorities, that character have her own world, so that she was never being the person going, Terry, why aren't you with me? Terry, you're late to a date because you're too busy being Batman. None of that. Could not have that. In fact, it was almost important that she be a love interest for Batman more than she was a love interest for Terry. And then find their way towards that, which is what ideally we've done, which is why we have him lie to her so much in issue 3. It's like, he's learning the wrong lessons from Bruce. He doesn't know how to be Batman and engage with love. He's making un-Terry-like mistakes.
And with that being said, though, our original approach with Beam wasn't, he needs a love interest.
No, not at all.
Not
a love.
No, we were like, he needs a Gordon.
Yep.
Like, he needs the other half of this. He needs a new.
Difference if you know.
Oh.
Yeah. Exactly. But then once the chemistry, once we started seeing Max's art, coming together, we were like, I mean, come on. Like, if these two don't get together, we're not doing our jobs right.
I mean, you take her to your bombed out Batcave. I mean, I figured love interest. Come on.
Batcave and chill, my friend.
Issue 5 might as well be called Batcave and Chill.
Oh, nice.
That's our unofficial title for issue 5. And you might have noticed the book has a title. We have like a title gimmick where every issue is Gotham's something. So it's Gotham's Sword, Gotham's Shadow, Gotham's. Trying to remember the other ones. Gotham's Fist, I think, is 4 because he's getting punched a lot. They're all Gotham something, because we were just sort of vibing on the idea of like of effectively moving Terry through various Batman genres, so that and various Batman kind of functions. So in issue 1, it's very much about Terry living that year 1, that like hard, dark year 1 life that feels hopeless. Issue 2 is about pushing Terry into a kind of Catwoman story, a traditional almost superhero run and chase against Joker. Is really like seeing what it's like for him to be a superhero. within his context. And then 3 is all about the detective work. It's all about getting him into that party with the cops and letting him see what it is when Terry's trying to figure out a mystery. We do the Neil Gibson, face and all that. Issue 4 is very much a fight issue, right? It is just what it means.
Sometimes Batman just has to throw down.
Just punching. And 5 is very much about that emotional experience of being in the Batcave and what it means to be the long dark night of the Bat soul, as it were. And then you'll see what happens.
And just your art team on this series, I mean, incredible. I mean, I think sets the mood. When it needs to be dark, it's dark. When it's not, it's not. It's
and when we first got we were working with Dave, and we're like, oh, artists, like, ooh, we want to find someone like really gritty and someone cyberpunk and darkness, and like, what's John Gordon Murphy doing? Like, obviously, LOL. Yeah, whoops. But then Dave came back and was like, what about Max? He's a fantasy guy,
and we know Max. Like, we were fans of Max.
Like, I love his work. We love his work. We were like, he doesn't do this kind of stuff.
He's a fantasy.
But like, let's see what happens. And then, I mean, you see the freaking work. Like, he did one. We gave him a note of. Two notes.
Collin gave this note. I would give Collin for this note forever because it's such a good note, and it fundamentally made the book better in a big way.
Because we were just looking at how to differentiate this visually, and one of the things that's really true about Terry, especially from the animated series, is his suit doesn't reflect. Like, he has a Vanta black suit, which is, it hides lines, it hides features, it is scary. And what we've seen a lot in the Batman Beyond comics previously is we're going to add more rivets and little bits and bobbles, and it strays.
You're going to see the detail that you could never see in the cartoon.
And it strays further and further from what Batman Beyond looks like. And we're like, Max, what if you just remove all the malarkey? Like, what does this look like if it's just black?
Yeah, he's effectively a 2D character. I mean, I know it's all 2D, but the rest of the book is rendered, especially the Sebastian 10 issues, is rendered. Yeah, is rendered very 3-dimensionally.
Mm-hmm.
And then Terry is still rendered 2-dimensional. He is almost a negative space in any panel that he's in, which makes it feel much more like the animated series in its own way.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's that's Rom, our new colorist, because Romulo Figueredo took over the book in June 4, and it does 4, 5, and 6. And Romulo brings a little more detail and texture to the costume, which is wonderful because it's during a period where the costume is getting further and further destroyed and further and further moved from its sort of its perfect Batcave model, and so it starts to be more of a real bodysuit in Romulo's issues. And it's been really cool to watch.
And the other thing that Max did, which just really rocked it, was when you think about Gotham from the animated series, it's not really a city. It's a world, right? It's these buildings are too big to ever actually be buildings. They're giant monoliths. Right, this is more.
The sky is red.
The sky is
at night.
This is more like a mountain range than Chicago. And when we brought that note to Max, and Max started bringing in this design of these buildings that just have no tops and no bottoms. It's like there's no windows. They're just these giant cement edifices that creates a really legendary feel to it. And once we started seeing all of his different stuff and elements coming in, it's like, this is.
And that is why a fantasy artist is the best choice.
Yep.
Look, I learned my lesson.
The other thing, so it said, Max is extremely good at design.
Yes.
Max is, and I say this as somebody who's, a lot of times when you do design, we're doing One Bad Day Clayface right now over at DC, which is just to plug a book that is not going to come out till February, but I swear it's going to rock your socks. It's such an opportunity. Really excited about this book.
We were just talking about how there was not enough Clayface content, honestly.
Yes.
48 pages, or 68 pages, 64 pages, 64 pages.
Can we just pitch a follow-up, if you will, Council of Clayface? We're just going to leave that there, and if you take it, just have podcasters with our similar.
You might be very interested in the last page of Clayface One Bad Day. But that book, Zermanico, who's doing our art on that from Flashpoint Beyond, Zermanico, when he designs something, he gives you 50 faces. So you design a new character, and he's like, here's 50 versions of that character, and then you whittle it down and figure out who it is. Max draws one, and that one is generally perfect.
Yep.
Like Max draws the first Gestalt was Gestalt right away.
Perfect.
Yeah. And that's not an easy character design. And it was like 3 characters, they're all connected at the head, you have to have this whole tentacle system. And I mean, we did a lot of detail work on color. Sure. But otherwise like his designs are, because he's a fantasy artist and he's so used to creating new kinds of armor and new kinds of technology, or figuring out how does a cart work or whatever. Like he's very good at like what feels functional, and his stuff passes that like smell test of believability. Like it feels it has form and function. So yeah, he's a really remarkable artist, and we definitely learned our lesson about fantasy artists for sure.
Or sometimes you just gotta trust your.
I have learned to always trust Dave Wielgosz.
We have been so blessed to like pretty much exclusively work with amazing editors who are incredibly passionate. I mean, no one gets into comics because they're not passionate about comics. Like, you're not doing it for the money. But being an editor is a dog's job. Like,
it's
hard.
Is
hard.
Hard work.
So an editor who is still good, who can show up with a smile on their face and get genuinely excited by the same stuff you're getting excited by, is worth their weight in gold. And between Dave at DC and Alana Smith over at Marvel, I mean, I think we're so...
Jim Chadwick
and
Heather Antos.
Yes.
I mean, we've gotten Tay Taylor, who started our entire career. Like, we've had such, Daphne Pleben at Boom. We've had such a great experience working with just people. And we need to, and on every job at some point, we have to learn to trust them. Still.
Excellent. All right. I don't want to try to hold you guys too long. I know it's probably been a busy day, but let's talk about, was that announced, yesterday at Comic-Con, the upcoming Star Trek series?
Yes.
Star Trek number 1.
Okay. So, look, we have to stop here.
Oh, boy.
What do you got, Charlie?
Because, listen, friends.
You know how it works already. Yes.
Every time we talk to a creative, like, oh no, they didn't tell us anything from the movies and the TV. We're just, look, gods are dying left and right. The queue is freaking gone off to who knows. You gotta tell me there's something going on here. There's gotta be some communication, right?
Oh, I get you.
Yeah. So, there is communication, for sure. Star Trek as a brand is actually extremely communicative, and we're in a really lucky position where Mike McMahon, who runs Lower Decks, is an old friend of ours.
I love Lower Decks.
We almost love Lower Decks. We interviewed to write on Strange New Worlds. Like, we know that team really well. Like, we're very...
Been getting lunch with Mike Johnson for the last 10 years.
Yeah, we've known Mike Johnson for ages. We're very, like, we have a friend on basically every Star Trek. And so we're in a really nice position where, just as creators, especially having come off Year 5, where we did a few years of show running Star Trek, right, within the comics context, we've now got the ear of John Van Sitters, who runs Star Trek, and the rest of the really incredible crew of people there who make sure that Star Trek is whole and functional, and that the canon's all working again. Dayton Ward, etc. So all of those people are communicating, and then they kind of communicate to us, and then if we need to communicate up the line and figure out who we're going to talk to like make sure that something's going to work, we do that. So that, in that respect, yes, there's a lot of communication. In the respect of, is there a line-wide thing going on that's happening in the shows that's going to be reflected in the books? I would argue it's almost reverse. There is a line-wide thing happening in the books that's going to kind of be reflected in the shows in some way, if only just because the books are going to make you think about it in a different way. But our pitch was not a pitch that somebody came to us and said, somebody's out there killing quote-unquote space gods, which I take a little bit of issue with the idea of like gods in Star Trek, but because it makes it sound like Gore the God Butcher, and that's really not what we're doing. But it's a nice entry point for somebody who doesn't know Star Trek. So
it's our shorthand.
It's fine. It's good. It's a good shorthand. But we came in. That was our pitch. We came in and said we really want to do a book that takes place in this really particular era,
2378.
2378, which is about a year and a half to 2 years before Nemesis. We're going to, so Data's still alive, the Enterprise crew's still together, but Sisko's in the wormhole, Voyager's back, which means that everyone's on table. TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, plus anybody who's surviving from TOS, any legacy characters from Enterprise, any legacy characters or future hit characters from Discovery. You have your characters who are staffed on the Cerritos and Lower Decks are already in Starfleet. Some of those cadets are already moving in Lower Decks. Like, everybody has a thing, like every show has a touch point that can fit somewhere in 2378. And so once we figured that out, and we cleared it with Star Trek, and we said, can we do whatever we want? between 2378 and 2380, as long as we put the toys back in the box and make sure that it functions well with the rest of the Star Trek universe. And they said, go for it, kids. And that's been Star Trek. Star Trek is, what if you took the entire Star Trek universe, treated it like the Marvel universe or the DC universe, and brought these characters together in like an Avengers or Justice League style team up series, and told a big story.
And when we first came in,
Oh boy.
No, you talk. You're here.
no. When we first came in to pitch it, it was actually a blast, right? Because this was actually, we pitched a version of this story before we even got to year 5.
Oh yeah, years ago, 5 years ago maybe.
Yeah, we came in with this really hot idea about like Picard leading a team and kind of dealing with like being older, and then they were like, "Ooh, we have."
Sorry about that.
Yeah, oops.
Let us tell you about Star Trek Picard.
Yeah. And we're like, that sounds so cool, and damn it. But when we came in for that pitch, we came with all the star charts and all the maps. And we laid them out on the table with all of IDW editorial. And we said, okay, they start here. Then the ships cross over here. And like, watch out, there's the Romulan nip. Now the Romulans are going to get involved. And it was like a whole, we were looking at it like Game of Thrones. And obviously the story has evolved as it should. And it evolved and has changed since then. But I still love those maps and the fact that like you can take a look and see how Star Trek fits together in a geographic space. Like, it is a real lived universe. So being able to pull these guys together and put them on a brand new ship, though it is a ship that we've seen. You're going to see a lot of stuff within the Star Trek issue 1, Star Trek no colon. We call it Star Trek flagship.
Yeah, we've been calling it. We call it flagship internally, if only because we're really trying to make sure that it's not a solo series that exists absent anything else, but is rather the start of a proper Star Trek line. The way that Disney has had a proper Star Wars line, I think it's really important that Star Trek have a unified, awesome, interested, collected, connected line, and we're really hoping flagship.
Wait, so you're starting a Star Trek line? This is the beginning of a Star Trek line?
That's the hope.
Oh, yeah. Hon, I gotta buy more comics in a few months.
That is the hope and the intention of everyone involved. Yeah. What I'll tell you is that, because I don't think she's made any secret of it. Star Trek has been through an editorial changeover since we did Star Trek Year 5. Chase Moritz was the editor on Star Trek Year 5, and
love him.
Is just the absolute best. I just love Chase so much, and that series was a dream come true. And like, he was our entry into Star Trek after years and years and years of us trying to get in, because it matters to us more than just about anything other than Steve Rogers or Batman, right? It's like a huge thing in our world. When Star Trek Year 5 ended, Chase left. He went to a different space at IDW. He moved on to the entertainment side. And there was a period there where it wasn't really sure who was going to be editorially running Star Trek during the sort of Mirror War process. And near the end of Mirror War, Star Trek brought on Heather Antos IDW brought on Heather Antos and said, hey, you worked on Star Wars, you know what you're doing. Heather, go on to Star Trek, have some fun. And we had just worked with Heather for quite some time rebooting Harbinger at Valiant. She was the one who, after years of us going to Valiant and saying, please let us play in your amazing universe, she was the one who came to us and said, how about Harbinger, which was like a dream come true for us. Heather got in touch with us and called us and said, what does a book look like if we just call it Star Trek? What is that?
That's the mandate.
Yeah. What is that? And that was her challenge to do it. So I don't want to say that like we're coming in and saying we want to start one. I'm saying she's been made no bones about it. Heather Antos is starting a Star Trek line, and we're the flagship. We're the thing that's going to get that thing started. How much that grows is going to be a fan reaction. That's up to every Star Trek fan, and frankly, every new fan who's just curious about Star Trek, because this book is very much designed as an entry point too, to the whole universe. You can find your favorite character and then follow them in the series.
You got Stranger Worlds that has sucked everybody kind of back into, and new people that are keep the stars alive. I have no Star Trek fan.
I know, I can't. Yeah. We've been so starved for Star Trek content for so long, and now we're gorging. We're fat and sassy with Star Trek content, and it's so good. What a great time to be a Trekkie.
It really is. And really just was said, because we must say it, Ramon Rosanas coming onto this book is a real coup. We're really excited about it. He's coming over from Star Wars. He did my favorite Ant-Man run. I love that run deeply. But the thing about Ramon is that he's as big a Trek nerd as we are, which is really hard to find. Especially in artists in comics. Like a lot of artists, I think, look at Star Trek and say, well, it's not terribly visual. That's why Star Trek doesn't have a great there have been some really like Mike Diodato did some really good Star Trek art back in the day for Marvel, but like generally there hasn't been a like legacy of really incredible comics artists like from outside of Star Trek comics coming in and doing Star Trek. It just doesn't really happen all that often. So it's very exciting to have somebody of Ramon's caliber coming in and wanting to push the limits, design new uniforms, design new starships, design new aliens, bring us into a new big Star Trek epic with his sort of love for it and his ability to nail likenesses, which is its own just,
incredible challenge.
Incredible challenge. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll go on record right now. If you guys make the time, issue 1 comes out, come back. We'll break it down.
We'd love to. Yes, let's do it.
We love. Hey, this has been a great conversation. We love talking to you guys.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair,
I love that you guys are so thoroughly passionate. You guys actually are on projects and have this. It's amazing. I'm so happy because I know that doesn't actually happen often.
Thank you. I think it is, and I hope this doesn't seem self-aggrandizing at all, but like it is, just to answer that really honestly, like Collin and I, as I said, like we met when we were really young. We found each other through comics. We became best friends. I was the best man at his wedding. He was the best man at my wedding. Like we call ourselves a hive mind for a reason. Like we're not two writers who got thrown together on a project. We're two best friends who bound together in the hope that maybe we could write some comics someday. So the idea that we get to write 3 of our very favorite things in the world all at once is a wild dream for us. We're still kind of in shock about the whole thing. And so talking about it, I think the passion has no way to not come out because we're just sort of going to be like, it's very exciting.
Oh no, trust me. If it wasn't good, I wouldn't say, "Hey, come back." But hey, as much as you guys want to come back, you are welcome. I mean, watch something. So, watch next issue. Captain America comes out. We're gonna be like, "Oh man, they need to have him back already."
I hate these guys. Oh, they're terrible now.
We cannot wait for people to read issue 4 of Captain America. Issue 3 totally rips. It's gonna be awesome.
It's the second half of issue 2.
Issue 4 is its own little beast. When we turned in our outlines, it's the one issue that Tom Brevoort was like, "This is good."
Yeah, Tom Brevoort has given us one compliment in our entire life, which is that issue 4 is good.
Oh!
Even Alana was like, "Holy shit!"
I got a no prize from him once.
Yeah,
Awesome.
nice.
Yes, it's my one claim to fame, man. But I got the email from Tom Brevoort. Like, no prize, thank you.
Classic.
Tom is the most starstruck I've ever been in a meeting in my life. We've had meetings with big Hollywood directors and stuff. I've never been as starstruck or as intimidated as I was sitting down for the first time with Tom Brevoort when he was like, "So when we made Winter Soldier, I made Ed Brubaker answer these 50 questions about the things that he was doing. I'm going to give you guys 50 questions about the thing you're doing, and you better answer them for me. It's not going to work." And I was like, "All right, Tom, let's go, man." Because he doesn't bulk.
And that's why he's the best at what he does, even if what he does isn't pretty.
Ooh, love that.
Sorry.
It so often is pretty. Carmen Carnero is the greatest Captain America artist in decades. It's very pretty.
Oh yeah, I said I can't say enough good things. It reminds me of the classic Cap runs I love. So, bravo. I mean, yeah, the Captain America, the Batman. I'm sure when the Star Trek comes out, you guys, you could tell you're knowledgeable about all this stuff. You know, it's not like someone just got thrown on a project. You guys know your stuff.
And they're like vigorously trying to watch every single episode of Star Trek.
I'm not even giving you my very stupid question about it. So there. That's how much respect I have for you.
Stupid question.
Bring us back to
There's no
stupid question.
Okay, the stupid question is...
Oh, you asked for it.
There's been a lot of time travel shenanigans in the Star Trek universe recently, including with Discovery, and you have to ask, does all this trace back to the X-Men Star Trek crossover where the X-Men brought their time travel shenanigans into this Star Trek
Always
universe?
blame the X-Men!
And then we get Kelvin, and then we get Discovery, and it all breaks down, and it's like a bunch of Nimrods running around, blowing themselves up.
Nimrod.
You know what? You nailed it.
Somebody snicked the timeline.
Man, that's why I didn't also want to spoil it. I know you guys were building to it, and I didn't want to.
Disney could come to terms. We could have the crossover we all tree on.
Time travel shenanigans.
Oh my god.
You know
Kirk fixed the timeline at the loss of his own love. That's what you do with the timeline. You fix it, because sometimes bad things have to happen.
If you're really hot for that specific idea, because obviously City on the Edge of Forever is one of the greatest episodes of television, and certainly I think the greatest episode of Star Trek ever manufactured. Here's what I'll say. If you've not dug deep into Star Trek Year 5 yet, there is something waiting for you, Professor Esser. Star Trek Year 5 is all about this. Like, top to tail is about what the timeline... It's not a time travel story, but it is a story about why time travel is so prevalent in Star Trek and why it's really important that the timeline function the way that it does, and the emotional, not the like big time travel-y shenanigan stuff, the emotional ramifications of time travel within Star Trek, because it's the only reason why anyone should ever time travel in Star Trek is to... really the reason anybody should do anything in Star Trek, because it manufactures a human emotional response that teaches us something about humanity, not something that like teaches us about the universe of Star Trek. Star Trek is a humanist story, and if you're on that wavelength, which it seems like you are, you should really check out Star Trek Year 5. I think it'll be right up your alley.
I'll get it for you.
I am certain.
I was gonna say I wrote it down. I'm gonna have to look it up. So,
Yes.
Check it out. All four trades are out now. It's great.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I say as the guy who we show ran it, right? Yeah. But I swear it's good. There's a reason why they're letting us write Star Trek #1.
Yes. The only thing I'll say is that one of my favorite lines from Star Trek.
The only thing.
When they discuss when the time travel cops for the Federation show up in DS9, and they talk about going back to the Trouble with Tribbles episode. Say, Kirk, we got a file this big on him. And you think about it, it's like, wait a minute, they don't actually have paper files on them anymore. So it's like, how big is the hard drive they have to have for all the data of the timeline's time?
Right, we can store all of our computer information in an isolinear chip, but Kirk's isolinear chip is this big. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, I love that. That's like, to me, that's the best thing that ever was said in Star Trek. Like,
Oh my god, the doctor on Voyager. How big was that camera?
I mean, truthfully, like the biggest time terrorist of all in Star Trek. I love Catherine Janeway. She's like a goddess of time at this point. Like, what?
She will screw the timeline for a cup of coffee.
Truly. All right.
I'm still waiting for Mirror Universe Wesley to become a traveler and then just be the evil force for all of time. And that's who are the... I'm sorry, did I spoil something?
You have to read Star Trek Year 5.
Oh! Read the book.
You have to read Star Trek Year 5 and then watch the finale of Picard Season 2 to understand what I mean. Because Star Trek Year 5 will not bring any Wesley Crusher into the story, but pair that with the season finale of Star Trek, of Picard Season 2, and you'll have yourself a really interesting version of exactly the thing you just pitched me.
Okay.
We're all the same wavelength.
That's good, man. I love knowing that I'm in the company of geniuses. So that's all I can ever hope for.
Excuse me.
I will read, good sir.
We thank you guys so much for having us. I'm so sorry that we do have to bolt.
I totally understand. Yes, we will have you back at some point if Star Trek.
Right. Whenever you want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep in touch.
Hey, before you jump off, is there anything you want to promote again, or anything else you want to promote before you leave?
Those are the good books.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I mean, so there is one thing we didn't talk about, which is coming out right now, and we're very proud of, and is like right in the middle of being great. Flash and Aquaman Voidsong. It's a weird issue sort of maxi series thing that we developed as an OGN over the course of pandemic. It's a sort of very personal story, frankly, about two guys and their relationship with each other and the way that it affects their relationship with their wives. It just happens to also be a giant world-spanning blockbuster Cthulhic, Justice League
Day.
Yeah, Independence Day style Justice League story with only Barry Allen and Aquaman there to stop a worldwide alien invasion. The art is by a newcomer named Vasco Georgiev, who is like truly an astounding talent already, and he's just getting started. There is some stuff. Issue 3 has some of the most just beautifully rendered DC sort of tribute art I've seen in a really long time. The book is our love letter to the Silver Age, to DC comic in general. It's a big, fun popcorn read. It's not nearly as heavy as Cap or Batman Beyond. It's much more of a like breezy, punky, fun pop song. But I think if you like anything, certainly less in Star Trek. But if you like our vibe and like what we've been throwing down, you should definitely check out Voidsong. There it is.
Number 2 out this week.
Number 2 out this week?
Yep.
The book that's closest to just hanging out with Jack and I.
Yeah. So I think have a lot of fun with that one. It's going to be a great book. And then, pre-order Star Trek number 1. That's my big one. Please, if you're listening to this and this excited you at all, call your local store. Tell them you're excited about Star Trek number 1. We need this book to do great numbers, and it would really rock if it did. So if you're hearing this and you love it, make noise about Star Trek number 1.
It will be on the pull list on Wednesday when I go pick up my next books.
Like I said, we'll have you back if you make time. We'll talk Star Trek, and might have to talk to you about Flash and Aquaman.
Might have a few other announcements by then too. So
ooh, nice. All right, but yes, friends of the show, thank you so much. Come back anytime. You have my email. I have yours.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But yes, go rest. I'm sure you guys did a lot today.
A nap right here.
Yeah, rest for the wicked. Phil, Lilith, Charlie, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, sir. The great Jackson Landing and Collin Kelly.
High fun.
Yay.
High fun, baby.
Oh my.
Those were nice guys.
They're so prolific. I forgot they were doing that Flash Aquaman. I was like, oh yeah.
They're doing well. To be fair, it's 2 guys writing. It's half the work for each.
Oh.
I have no idea how writing works because I'm perfect just writing by myself. That's why they are successful and I'm on a podcast.
But they get the system. They're like, yes, Professor, go ahead.
No, they said Charlie. They didn't give me my honorific because they know.
At one point they did. Honorific. At one point I thought one of them called you Professor.
Yeah. They called me Charlie. I listen carefully. Anyway.
All right.
They're nice people. I really like talking to them. Yes, we can talk about all the comic books on the because you know what? Everyone's an Avenger, even Crowley.
Oh, jeez. All right, yeah. So, kids, yes, you got your homework. Check out all the great works from Jackson Lanzig and Collin Kelly. And come back next week. But email us, CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember to follow Capes and Lunatics on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Find links to all the various social medias for all the Marvel and DC we talk about. The YouTube channel. Yes, Lilith, I'm getting to the Cash App link in the show notes. I'm getting... Make it rain. In the words of that madman, make it rain.
Make it rain.
I know. All right. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everything we do gets a video there, including this interview. So if you want to see those guys in person, we'll kind of record it. But yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's completely free. Smash that subscribe button so you never miss it.
Smash it.
And of course, most importantly, after the Cash App, the Patreon. Again, paying for this out of our own pocket, labor of love, but so every little bit helps. But $3 to $5 gets you early access.
That's what you're telling me?
Make it rain. But yes, you get early access to creator interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats.
I got the good mic out for you guys.
And superhero movie brackets because Lilith Hellfire loves Man Pain. The July episode will be Halle Berry's Catwoman versus Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern with special guests. Lilith demanded more Man Pain. So yes, #1 Hal Jordan fanboy Will be joining us.
I, of course, love Hal Jordan.
So yes, subscribe to the Patreon, or if you're cool enough, pick up some Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks merch. Whoa, Lilith Hellfire. Don't give away Charlie's secrets. Anyway, so find everything all in one place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. Lilith Hellfire. Where... Oh, I should have paid some drops for them.
Very hard, very tempting. Oh, you don't want to know the things I've done. Let me get a ride on your alligator back, bro. Somebody's muffin's getting buttered. That ain't my business.
Charlie Esser.
Well, if you'd like to write to me that old-fashioned email way the way our mothers and fathers once did, newsconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Likewise, follow me on Reddit @superconnectivity and follow me on Twitter @Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle. For what?
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, everyone.
2 of Charlie's children.
Technically, I'm on the gram as well as Superconnectivity, but I don't know what a gram is. I use ounces because I'm an American.
He's not on the metric system.
Anyway, I think I did everything there, so let's call it a night.
Going to. All right, kids. Hope you enjoyed that. I know we did. Thank you once again, Jackson Landing, Collin Kelly. Hopefully we can have them back again. But until next week, we have been your Capes.
And Hassan.
Yay! And if you
what I like best is that they sat in the order of their name.
I know how I know.
It's like, well, I knew you were Jackson, I knew you were Collin, because that's where you're sitting. Didn't have to explain it because I just assumed you were Jackson.
And if you're another creator and you see this, if you would like to talk to us, yes, reach out, CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. Yeah, Chips and Darsky. Tom Taylor, I need to talk some Nightwing. Come on.
Yeah, any of you guys, man. We appreciate all of you people who have succeeded where we have failed.
Good night.